So today, let's talk about Bear Independent's video on the gun industry, and also let's talk a little bit about what TiborasaurusRex talks about as far as what a rifleman is. Now, the question comes down to, are they right or are they wrong? I'm going to say it this way. They're both right and they're both wrong. The reason is you have to determine your needs. They don't determine your needs for you. Now, both of them have a lot of really useful information, and it's applicable to the skill levels, income level, and what they foresee is what the needs would be in their tactical niche, both in everyday life and also in SHTF. As far as the gun industry goes, I agree totally with Bear Independent. I've been in it for well over 30 years. I've never attended any of the industry events such as Leviathan Group hosts. Pretty much, in my opinion, Leviathan presents a false narrative as to what you need and what things are really worth. And I have no confidence at all in any of their reviews. I know of instances where different companies paid up to $30,000 for inclusion of their wares and or for reviews on some of the gun channels. So anything they're pushing is biased. It was always like that in the gun industry. The gun magazines, the gun shows on TV and cable, they're all the same way. So in my opinion, they are not good reviews of the weapons because they're biased and they're receiving some kind of consideration. Now, as far as the one gun myth, I think it's just that. You know, you always hear this quip where people say, beware the guy with one gun. What they should really say is be cautious of the person that has one gun, but actually uses it, has the money to practice with it, takes care of it, and can actually hit something with it. Because in my experience, the people that can only afford one gun cannot afford sufficient ammunition to actually develop the skills to use it skillfully. So what happens is we fall down to the level of skill that anything becomes a close range weapon because we can't hit something very far away. I used to see this all the time with a lot of hunters. They never zero their rifle. They may use a 30-30, for instance, and in their lifetime, they only shoot 3 or 4 boxes of ammunition through it, but they take 25 deer over 30 or 40 years. And the reason this happens is they're 25 yards away from the deer and the deer stand or blind, and they don't have to hit anything very far away. So instinctive shooting techniques and coarse, large sights are sufficient. So basically, these people are using rifles at handgun distances. So you really need to beware of these quips and these statements that people make, because most of them have a little nugget of truth, but they're not overall truth. And like I said, the person that owns one gun, maybe 2 or 3% of them actually can use it. Now, I've seen this where if you take a person to a range and you put a target 200 yards away and there's no sighting shots, they get one round with their gun to hit that target, and most of them can't do it. And the reason is the gun was never zeroed, they never learned how to zero the gun, or they didn't practice, the sights got hit, the scope got hit, or whatever it was, they were no longer in alignment, so you couldn't hit the target. So when we look at Bear Independent, he selects a 5.56 as a general purpose weapon, which fits his needs, but it doesn't fit everybody's needs. So one of the needs is if you're hunting deer with it, in the states that surround me and the one I live in, you can't hunt deer with a 5.56. So if you're going to hunt deer in normal times in other game, large game, you're going to need a different weapon. Now, it also seems that he doesn't depend on hunting small game. So most of the small game that he would engage looks like it would be to help with promoting his ag. So if you're hunting small game to actually eat it, then you're going to need something in the 22, the shotgun, or something similar to that, maybe a combination gun. And that could also be used to eliminate pests in your ag operation. Then we get to the fact that I have in people that live in mountainous communities. And if you have to move through a mountainous region, you're going to need long-range fire potential. Now, I like TiborasaurusRex, where he talks a lot about precision, but neither he nor Bear talk about area fire. And most people don't have the skill for long-range precision shooting, but they do have the skill where if you had 4 or 5 people, you could use area fire techniques with older weapons. And that way you can prevent movement, you can cover a withdrawal from an area, you can prevent forces from massing. And to do that, all you need is the cheaper military surplus bolt actions that have sights to 2,000 yards, because those sights were designed for area fire over 600 meters. Under 600 meters, they were for point targets. In my opinion, the one gun mentality leaves out an important asset you really need if you're forced to move or protect something in mountainous or flat terrain, and that is long-range area fire. So the last thing I want to talk about is primitive infantry. You use non-conventional weapons such as hammers, axes, hatchets, spears, clubs, muzzle loaders, bow and arrows, crossbows, machetes, anything that people can have. And in SHTF, the vast majority of combatants are going to be armed with that kind of material, and you may see them in mass. I was working on a building in a large city, and all of a sudden 300 people showed up and they emptied the dumpsters. They looked like ants coming down the road. Whoever was directing this gang or people, we were on the roof working, and you could see them. They just took everything out of the dumpster. It didn't matter what it was, and they took it back to wherever they came from. So it's very possible you could see a large group of people. You're going to need some kind of firepower. So whatever system you choose, you're also going to need larger capacity feed devices or shotguns to pair with them, because shotguns and high capacity weapons working together actually is much more effective than just high capacity weapons. So these are some thoughts and considerations that may or may not fit into your needs, but if they do, use them. Share your thoughts. We'll see you on the next video.